This is the Retirement Bullpen with Richard Warner. The team at Warner Financial Solutions want to help you feel confident about your retirement, no matter where you stand. Get more at warnerfinancialsolutions.com. Now, the Retirement Bullpen.
Do you remember learning about Pavlov's dog? If not, here's a quick refresher. Ivan Pavlov was a Russian psychologist who rang a bell when feeding his Labrador dogs. Eventually, the ringing sound alone made the dogs salivate as they were expecting food. So what does this have to do with retirement planning? Stay tuned to find out. You're listening to the Retirement Bullpen with our host, Richard Warner. Richard is an investment advisor representative, certified retirement income professional, and owner of Warner Financial Solutions. You can learn more at warnerfinancialsolutions.com. Richard, you're familiar with Pavlov's dog, yeah?
Very much so, yes. Had that come up in a lot of psychology courses.
I imagine. I realized I said it to my 10-year-old and he looked at me and I'm like, oh, I haven't explained the background to that. So it was a learning opportunity. But just like Pavlov's dog, there are certain emotional triggers that can sort of kick in when even very rational retirees step into decision making. And sometimes, if not handled correctly, it can derail even well-laid plans. What are some of those ringing bells that you see in retirement? People come to have a meeting with you and that bell has gone off in their mind and set off an emotional trigger that makes them go from rational to a state of fear.
There's a couple of big ones. The first one, and probably the most common, is market volatility or headline-driven news in regards to market volatility. It is inevitable that when the market has a couple of bad days, I will receive a lot of calls. And the thought from the call, and it's not a bad thing necessarily, but we tend to be driven by fear in regards to our savings. Okay. And so when the market is taking a dive, I literally get questions like, do I have any money left? How's this going to affect me? What should I do? Should I put it all in the bank? All sorts of different types of things. And most of the people that I work with, we educate them up front that, hey, these things are going to happen. No matter what we do, you're going to see some of this. We can tactically manage your investments to minimize that, at least historically, but we cannot guarantee it is not going to be going up and down to some extent. So if you feel like it's doing more than it should, call. So we want them to, right? We want them. I don't want them losing sleep over it. So, but a lot of times it's this war is going on or this thing is happening or that's happening. And sometimes it's their political beliefs really drive it. Who's in power drives it. If this person's president, I want to get out of the market. If this person's, it's completely opposite for some people. If this person's president, I want to get out of the market.
Right.
And again, it's things outside of our control that tend to create that fear. Okay. So the next one would be health concerns. And I'm going to use an actual real example without using any names or specifics, but I received a call here not too long ago by someone I knew fairly well, concerned about some tests and procedures that were needing to be done at the hospital coming up. And this person wanted to pull a very large sum of money, completely disproportionate to what was going on, even if this person didn't have Medicare and a supplement, still disproportionate for the total cost.
Sure.
Because this person was fearful that it was going to create all of these health expenses. And the problem is not necessarily spending the money. The problem is it worth paying the taxes for something that now you're not going to ultimately spend and it's just going to sit in your savings account and generate less returns. So fear drives us to make irreversible decisions because that's another thing that happens is these unexpected expenses. Again, could be kids need money. Could be this happens with my house. Could be I need a new car. What have you? I've heard all sorts of them. There's this belief, well, I can pull it out now. They're going to pay me back and then I can put it back in. And no, you can't put it back in. These become irreversible decisions. When you take money out of a pre-tax account in retirement, you can't put it back in.
Right.
And this creates a irreversible scenario that you have sold regardless of what's going on in the market. Could be down, could be up. You have done that and pulled that out and created that event. Now, was it worth it? So I do appreciate people reaching out and asking versus just doing, because that is my job. And ultimately, if they want to do it, I'm not going to stop them, but I am going to spend a few minutes educating them. This is the pro, this is the con. What makes more sense to you? Because ultimately, these kinds of things, pulling your money out of the market when it's down, pulling your money out for expenses that aren't even there, they will create a drag effect on your account that will potentially cause you to run out of money much quicker than you would have ever expected.
The psychology of fear is really interesting. So knowing we were going to do this conversation, I was trying to do a little bit of a deep dive. Certainly, I'm not a psychologist in any respect, but I read an interesting article that talked about how fear used to be about survival. You think back to before we had the lifestyles that we have with the food and shelter readily available. Fear was to protect us from eating something that could potentially kill us, to stay away from danger that could potentially kill us. And because of technology and things that we have available now, that's not so applicable. So our brains seek finding something to be fearful from, and we almost get a little imaginative about it because it's not something that's necessarily sitting and happening to us right now. It's our brains playing a worst case scenario because we're not having to fight for survival every day. And I thought that was really interesting, especially when you talk about retirees, because a lot of, to your point, in that situation, they were worried about something that hadn't even happened. It was just the foreshadowing in their mind what could happen. Is that something that you see pretty regularly, that it's the fear of the unknown more so than something that's actually happening?
I see that in all aspects of my life. I see that on the baseball field with my high school players. I see that in the office with my clients. I see that with people I just know, and I don't necessarily have any business or baseball affiliation with. I just know them.
Right.
I feel like most people, that's true. I mean, I can't say that for certain, but just based on my experience, I think people look for things to be afraid of because I don't know why. I personally don't like doing that. But again, we naturally look for those things and we naturally tend to lean towards, what if this happens? What if that happens? I hear it come out of my mouth at times as well. So
I have a friend's daughter who's, sort of at this big decision on whether to leave the small town that she's comfortable with. She's got an opportunity to go to a bigger city, but she doesn't know anybody. And it's interesting to see it affect even somebody in their 20s, because it's the fear of the unknown. And the advice I gave her was, if you're going to play the what if game, you at least have to play it in both directions. You can play it as, what if I go and I don't know anybody and I'm miserable? But you owe it to yourself to at least look the other way and go, well, what if I love it? And what if I meet lots of people? And what if this is the best chapter in my life? Do you sort of have to talk your clients through that if they're going down the rabbit hole of being scared? Okay, yes, I hear this, but let's also look at this solution over here. What if we did this with your money? And what if you took these steps, what that would look like?
I do have those conversations a lot. Most of those happen in the meetings leading up to retirement. A lot of people push off retirement because of the fear of the unknown. They have accumulated their whole life. They have this pile of money. They've gone to work. Some of them don't necessarily have, what am I going to do with my time? Like they don't know. And you've got to talk them through that. What are you going to do with your time? Maybe you need to work a little bit. Some people do, regardless of the dollars in their bank account or their
just for their sanity.
Account. Yeah. Some people do need to find something you really love though.
Yeah.
Do it a little bit every week. Don't go 60 hours a week. Do it 15 or 20 hours a week. So you have that sense of purpose. So some people are afraid of that. Some people are afraid of, do I have enough money? That's a big fear to a lot of people. Do I really have enough money? Because when you read the headlines, when you read books, when you listen to radio shows or podcasts, everybody throws out numbers. You got to have this amount to retire. And it's just so generic and it's just not true. There's not a single amount that everybody needs to retire. Every situation is specific to that person's other income sources on top of expenses.
Right.
How do those match up? And so we just have to have a conversation with folks, and every advisor should do this, and everybody looking to retire or looking to sell their business and whatever it might be should be having these conversations to really determine is there anything to be afraid of?
Mm-hmm.
Because we can then turn these fears into tenfold because we just let them manifest and grow bigger and bigger and bigger, 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 bigger. And pretty soon it doesn't even make any sense what we're afraid of anymore.
Right. Do you find that sort of the antidote to the fear is that plan, seeing it in black and white, seeing the numbers written out, knowing that these are the steps 1 through 10 to get us to where we need to go?
For a lot of people, yes. And some still, they almost need to hear it from multiple sources. Even after they make the decision, they almost need to have it reiterated to them on a monthly basis, almost like this is going to be okay. This is going to be okay. Some people, it takes till their first or second year of retirement to see. I can think of one person I've known, again, not to name any names, but he was afraid to death that him and his wife are going to be living under a bridge 2 years into retirement because they're going to have spent all their money. And I don't know, sometimes it seemed like he was half joking, but he did it so often that I think he really actually was afraid of it.
Sure.
And obviously it's not worked out that way for him, but they're doing really, 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 really well. But again, there's these irrational fears that sometimes the plan does it. A lot of times it does, but it's that constant side by side, I think, having that partner. And that's what we as a financial advisor can bring, is somebody to say, hey, it's going to be fine. This is why. Mm-hmm. And taking that time to do that. When you're doing it yourself, you don't have that person.
And a financial advisor also has the ability to look at many different cases, many different scenarios. You've worked with countless clients. So you're not speaking just to this particular person. You're speaking from your years of experience and all of the different portfolios that you've worked with. So there's a well of information that you're drawing from, not just, this one individual cup.
Yeah, that's very true. And I think the longer I do this, the less fearful a potential person seems to be versus in the early years, because I hadn't been doing it as long. And so there's a little bit more fear, if you will, like, well, you haven't only seen so many scenarios. Well, now obviously I still have only seen so many scenarios, but that number is really high. Right. I wouldn't even be able to calculate what that would be. There's probably a way to, but I'm not going to worry about it. Right. It's just a lot. It's a big number. And so I think that helps, obviously, but that person still always has their own individual situation, and they always still have a little bit of fear and apprehension taking that step. Just like starting a business. Somebody's going on their own, leaving a job, starting a business. There's that fear. I had this paycheck. Now I'm not going to have this paycheck, and I'm going to have all these potential expenses. How am I going to handle that? There's all kinds of ways you can look at it when you're looking at your money. It's our livelihood in many cases. So.
And I think a lot of that psychology around money happens from instances in our childhood. I really do think that that's a lesson that we've learned all the way up through. If money was tight when you were a kid, and I witnessed it with my own mom, even though she was very successful in her life as an adult, there would still be moments where you could see the psychology that was imprinted on her as a young child, having grown up with, very little.
Yeah, that's very true. You can look at the different generations, like the greatest generation that went through the Depression. They didn't spend anything. They had all kinds of money, and their kids, the baby boomers, had no idea or didn't understand why on earth will mom and dad not spend any money. They got all this money.
Right.
And so they looked at it a lot differently, not necessarily in a bad way, probably a more reasonable way to a certain extent, but they also didn't live through that experience where the generations after tend to be very spendy, if that makes sense. Spend. And so there's potentially going to be some other effects to those types of reactions. But yeah, what you experience growing up from a financial standpoint can really impact the decisions you make with money in your life. And they carry on into retirement typically too.
Sure. I just have this image of my grandmother, and she would sit with just this one little lamp on, in her living room, because she was a Great Depression. She was born in 1919. And so she had lived through the Great Depression. And there's a joke that says Maine really didn't know there was a Great Depression because Maine was just poor all the time, which is sadly true in a lot of ways, but, exacerbated that much more by a Great Depression, living in a poor state. And, for her, if you left a light on in another room, even if you were going back in that room for 5 minutes, that was blasphemy as far as she was concerned, because you were wasting electricity.
Or if you left a scrap of food on your plate.
Yes.
No
Yes,
food.
the Clean Plate Club.
Yep. You had to eat all your food because we didn't have much in it. I mean, those experiences drove a lot of those feelings and reactions.
Sure. Well, certainly, as we've learned, emotions don't disappear in retirement. In fact, they can be magnified. But the more aware you are of your emotional triggers, the better equipped you are to stay grounded when making decisions. And if you're looking for an advisor to help you navigate these tough financial decisions, you can schedule a complimentary consultation with Richard today. Do so by visiting warnerfinancialsolutions.com. Click that Contact Us button and get the ball rolling. And of course, if you enjoyed this episode, share it with a friend. And be sure to come back next time. Thanks so much for joining us.
Insurance products are offered to the insurance business Warner Financial. Warner Financial is also an investment advisory practice that offers products and services through Impact Partnership Wealth, LLC, IPW, a registered investment advisor. IPW does not offer insurance products. The insurance products offered by Warner Financial are not subject to investment advisor requirements. NPN number 7617022. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims-paying abilities of the issuing carrier. This podcast is intended for informational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as the sole basis for financial decisions, nor should it be considered as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual situation. Warner Financial is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during this show shall constitute tax or legal advice. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. The information and opinions contained herein provided by third parties have been obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by Warner Financial.